Okay, next, a response from Isiah James.
Thank you for the question, Errol. So we just heard Congresswoman Clark say that she held a press conference. I was at the rallies. I was at the Barclays Center. I was by Parkside, which was right near my campaign office. I was there with the people standing in solidarity, not holding a press conference the day after. That's number one. Number two, firing 2 officers is not going to deal with it. In the 50s and 60s, Black people were getting dogs sicked on them and water hoses turned on them. We've been talking about this for decades. As a 6'8" Black man, I know what it's like to look like the suspect when you walk out of the front door. We need to use the federal powers to end qualified immunity for police officers. If a doctor or a teacher had that many complaints against them, they would lose their license to practice medicine or teach. We should not have police officers who have dozens and dozens of complaints and force complaints against them be able to shield their records. That's number one. I'm glad Brother Bunkadeko is finally seeing the light and saying we need to end the 1033 program. We've been talking about that on my website since we got in this race. The 1033 program allows surplus military equipment to be sold to police departments all across this country. That equipment comes from the Department of Defense. Congresswoman Clark just voted for the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act. Billions and billions of dollars go to war contractors. They have to get rid of their old equipment and they sell it at a premium to states like New York and Florida and all over this country. That's the crux of leadership that I'm talking about. It's not just talking about these things when it's convenient or when something flares up. We need leadership that's going to take charge and lead when this stuff is not happening.
Okay, let me give Congresswoman Clark a chance to respond.
Absolutely. First of all, Mr. James is informed, or he's trying to deceive the public.
I am informed. Thank you.
My voting record is public knowledge. I have never voted for a national defense authorization bill ever in my entire tenure in the House of Representatives. Go to gov.com and you will see that he has just put forth a false narrative about who I am. But that's typically what men do when they don't have any record to show for themselves.
Okay, we will, Mr. James.
Thank you, Errol. Congresswoman Clark says I don't have a record to show for myself. I do have a record to show for myself as a housing activist, as an organizer, as a disabled veteran, as somebody who raised their right hand and swore to defend the Constitution, to speak out against corrupt powers, and almost died for this country, spent years recovering in the hospital. I have a record of public service, and I was willing to give my life should it be needed for public service. So I thank Congresswoman Clark for bringing up the issue. But again, you have voted to fund our military industrial complex every single year.